Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Every Man Has a Story. I got a special guest. My good friend Paul, has come back over, and we were talking the other day, discussing, why we came to the Philippines.
Yeah.
And I told my story, and Paul's agreed to tell me. We chatted about little bits and pieces over the last year and a half, but you never really got in depth about it. So, for the viewers out there and the subscribers to your channel, which is Paul in the Philippines, Old Dog, New Tricks. I recommend you go and check that out and subscribe if you haven't already. You were living in Las Vegas, which is a great city. Lots of fun things to do there. I mean, compared to the Philippines, God, Vegas, it's Vegas. I mean, there's more to do in Vegas than New York or LA. I mean, I love Vegas. I took my ex-wife there every weekend for like 3 years. But so you're in Vegas, and were you in the auto industry?
Yeah, I worked for almost 40 years. In the
40 years?
Yeah. I started off in 1982, and I answered an ad in the paper for a salesman trainee, and they offered $200 to go through a training class to become a salesperson. And I was driving a forklift at the time in Long Beach, living in Glendale. And I wasn't living in Vegas, I was in California back then. And I needed $200 to pay my rent. And so I saw that ad, I called them up, they said, okay, we'll take you on. And my intention was to go to the class, take their $200, and then just split, and pay my rent, and go back, because I'd lost my job as a forklift driver. And then my conscience got the better of me, and I went to the job and went to work, and I wasn't comfortable with it. It wasn't something that I fit into. I thought that they did everything ass backwards. In many ways, I still think that they do. But I love the people that I worked with, because they were some of the craziest, funniest, most entertaining coworkers that a person can have. And so I really kind of just fell in love with the vibe and the guys, and eventually I sold cars for a couple of years there, and then they promoted me to finance, and I did that for a number of years in California.
Well, I'll just stop you there. I mean, I worked selling cars too for a while, and jumping from I was a car salesman, but jumping to finance, that's such a huge leap. I mean, that's like one of the top jobs of the dealership, probably the most important job of the dealership, right along with the general manager.
Yeah.
So that's a huge leap. Did you have a college degree in like finance or anything?
High school graduate.
High school graduate. And they saw something in you that they didn't see in all these other guys to make you F&I.
Well,
that's a big job, though.
It is. The way that happened was they had a rule. I worked for a place called Keys Toyota on Van Nuys Boulevard in California, and it's a huge outfit. And their rule was nobody got promoted unless they were the #1 salesperson at least 1 month. And I had never been #1. I had been in the top 5, I'd been in the top 10, I'd been last. I'd been all over the map, right? And because I was lazy, I would work my shift. And I was a young kid, and I'd get a little money in my pocket. And those were in the days where they would give you a car, and they would give you, you had a free car to drive. They don't do that anymore. It's called a demo. You would drive your new car, and every 4 months you got a brand new car. So I'm a young kid with a brand new car, and I'm making enough money to, support my crazy lifestyle of being in my 20s. And 1 month, it turned around to where it was just one of those magical months where everyone that I talked to came back and bought a car from me. And I think I sold 43, 44 cars that month.
Wow, that's a lot of cars.
That's a lot of cars. But the capper was, they did a thing called a walk around.
Yeah, I know that.
That same month. And I'd never participated in one of those. And a walk around, for those that don't know, is they'll shut the showroom down, and they'll put a car out there, and they'll offer a bonus or a reward or a prize for whoever can do a walk around on the car. And so someone will play customer, and then you play salesman, and the other salesman, that's the customer, gives you a hard time and asks you a lot of questions and whatnot. And so someone volunteered me. They said, McGill, you're going to go do the walk around. You're going to be the salesman. And I didn't want to do it, but I did it. Yeah. And so a guy named Brian Hartman, who was the finance director there, was watching. And he went to me and said, if you're ever the #1 salesperson here, I want you to work for me, because I can't promote you until you are the #1 guy. And a couple of months later is when I had the 44, 45 car a month. And that was that. He promoted me.
And did you like F&I better than being a salesman?
I loved F&I.
You loved it?
Yeah. It was my niche.
You had your own office and everything, I'm sure.
You had your own office. You were dealing with things that I was much more comfortable. I like intangibles. And there's a lot of intangibles involved in F&I. As opposed to tangible sales. It's different. Right. So what you sell in F&I is more of a thought than an actual object. You know, like a warranty or something to that effect. And that just seems to fit my MO better. I like working with numbers. I like, and again, I liked working indoors, and I also enjoyed the status, and I most definitely enjoyed the pay raise.
And there's probably benefit like health insurance and things like that too, huh?
Everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you're in Vegas, 40 years of doing this. Successful. Assume you got a house, car. Yeah. Now you were married for a while.
Yeah.
And had how many children?
3.
3 children. And so what was the scratch inside of you, the itch inside of your brain that all of a sudden made you start thinking, I got this good life, I'm stable, but I want to go live someplace else. I don't know where, maybe the Philippines, or what started that? What was your reason? That's a drastic change.
Yeah, well, on paper that all sounds good. Wow, you got a nice house, you got a nice car, you're married, and you got 3 kids.
Right.
That's kind of the American dream, right?
Yeah.
Well, mine was the American nightmare. My first wife that I married, that I had my biological child with, she died of a brain embolism at 3 o'clock in the morning one day. And
how old was she?
41.
Wow, that's young.
Yeah. And I had moved to Vegas in '88. And anyway, so that was there to deal with. And then I was kind of on the rebound, met a woman who presented herself to be one way and turned out to be another. And she convinced us that we needed to adopt a couple of kids, which I don't regret, but we adopted 2 half-brothers, if you will. And that's a story in and of itself.
How old were they?
They were infants.
Okay.
I mean, they were like 6 months old, and one was a year or something like that. So
adoption is kind of hard. They don't just give babies to anybody. You have to
it was a private adoption.
Okay.
And again, that I could do 2 hours on the drama behind all of that. I will tell you that after raising the children for 5 years, the biological mother came back and sued for custody.
Oh no.
And won.
Wow.
Yeah. And so the wife that I was married to at the time turned out to be bipolar. So I had all of that. My eldest son had very early on become addicted and started doing drugs and weed and moved on, and over time eventually became a heroin addict. Wow. The other 2 that I adopted, they went off the reservation. They were being split between us and the biological mom. They were being really confused by everything that was going on. There was a lot of dissension in my home. And I was working 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. And so, yeah, we had the house. Yeah, we had the car. Yeah, we had, the dinners and all that. But we didn't have any joy, and we didn't have any happiness. And it was one brush fire that I had to put out after another. I would come home from work, and the door hadn't closed, and the wife was in front of me downloading her day. You know what I mean? It was just like, And I didn't get a chance. She didn't say, hello, would you like a cup of coffee? She just started to download everything that had gone wrong. And that's, after 16 hours at the office dealing with everything going wrong, come home to that. So
stress is bad for you.
Dude, I did that and you know what I wanted to do? I wanted to, since I knew I'd married the wrong woman, and I wanted more than anything to walk away. Yeah. I wanted to just say, you're divorced, you take the kids, to hell with you, I'm out of here. I'm just not built that way.
You didn't want to take the easy way out.
I took the vow of marriage, okay? And so to me, that's a sacred promise. And it can only be broken because of my religion. It can only be broken due to death or infidelity. I had 3 kids that were still under my care. I'm not going to abandon them just because things have gotten tough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm going to stay, and I'm going to man up, and I'm going to take the bullets. And 1,000,001 other things were coming at me. And so what happened after all that is eventually time went by. The wife had an affair that gave me the right, if you will, to apply for divorce, which I did.
But if she hadn't had an affair, you'd still be with her today?
Yes, sir. That's just because of my Christian faith.
Wow.
That's just the way that I believe. And so that's just the way I'm built. Anyway, she's out of the picture now, sort of. The kids have grown up, and they've gone off on their directions. And I'm a single guy now. I'm in my mid-50s, and living in Vegas. Still got the big house, still got the nice car. And I am just one beat-up mofo, if you know what I mean. I'm just like been punched for the last 12 years with all this drama.
But hadn't some of the stress been relieved when you got divorced finally and you were on your own, and at least you could come home and watch TV or something, have a beer or whatever?
Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of the stress was relieved. However, peripheral people will still, because I'm an enabler, that's another one of my shortcomings, they will still come at me with their problems. Even the ex, even the kids. I'm in trouble, I'm in jail, I need money, I need this, I need a ride, I'm over there, this happened, bop, 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 bop. And me, I would buy into it and drop what I was doing and try to go help them. The turning point was 2005. My father and my best friend, Gary, had kind of an intervention with me. And they were watching all of this going on. And they said, Paul, you're so far deep into the forest, bro, you can't see the trees. And you're going to die. And you are a vessel. You're filled up with only so much. And these people in your life have drained it. From your work, to your family, to your kids, to your neighbors, to whatever. You're running on empty. You're running on fumes. I'm looking at you. You look like you're 100 years old. You're unhappy. I was suicidal. I was depressed. I couldn't see moving. What's the point? I'm never happy. The turning point was 2005. Gary and my father had this little intervention with me. And then Gary went to Thailand and invited me to go. And my father actually gave me $6,000 and said, you go to Thailand with Gary and get the hell out of here. And I was doing real estate at the time. I had taken a break from the car business. And so I had the time. And my dad said, I'll look over things for you. So I went to Thailand. And going to Thailand, I went for 2 weeks and I ended up staying for 4 months.
Really?
Yeah. And it just showed me that there is a different way to live. There's a lower and slower pace. There are females that are feminine as opposed to being feminists. The landscape, the people, the vibe, and I came and poverty. I saw a lot of poverty. I saw a lot of poor people. I saw a lot of people that lived hand to mouth, day to day, and they were the happiest people that I'd ever seen in my life. And so when I came back to the States, that was embedded in me, and I can honestly look you in the blues and tell you that I knew that I was going to return here. And so that was the catalyst. And it gave me that goal, that hope, something to look forward to. And nothing, and I did a lot of other stuff that was very tough, very difficult, made bad decisions, and I could go on for 3 hours about those things, but for the sake of your audience, I'll leave it out. But when the time came, and I was on the door of Social Security the day I turned 62. I had researched it. I had looked. I was planning on going back to Thailand, and I ended up settling on the Philippines just because of the language and the visa and all this, that, and the other. And I landed here 3 years, 10 months ago, and haven't looked back.
Wow. And so you were in Thailand for a good amount of time. It's enough time to know if you want to live there or not, and you obviously had a wonderful time there.
Well, one thing, I'm sorry to interrupt you,
go
but
ahead.
one thing that I failed to mention was that in 2009, after the recession hit, I lost the big house, and I lost the cars, and I lost the job, and everything had been taken away. That's why I said I could do another video on that. But it felt like a big wave had come in and just hit me and pulled me and all the stuff that I had acquired over the years out to ocean. And I was just this little cork floating out there, watching all my stuff I worked for all my life just float by me. And it was like, now I'm depressed, I'm unhappy, my family's falling apart, and now I haven't got any friggin' money. And my entire savings account and all that has just been decimated because I broke into all the 401ks and stuff, trying to keep stuff afloat.
Yeah, of course.
Which hindsight being 2020 was a major mistake, okay? But you can't change the past, right? And so finally I bobbed back onto shore, and I just kind of limped along until, and did odd jobs, just lived small.
You were just basically, you were in survival mode.
Dude, I was in survival mode. There was more than one time that I just wanted to end it. And again, that's where my faith system kicked in, and just keeping my eye on the prize. And I had gone to Thailand in 2009 after all that happened. My dad gave me another amount of money and said, "You're hitting it again." And I lived there for about a year.
A year?
Mm-hmm.
Where
2009 to 2010, I lived in Phuket.
Phuket's nice. I've been there, yeah.
And all I did there was, I didn't do any crazy stuff. I didn't do all the girly stuff. I didn't do any of that. I just kind of got in touch, you know, with
yourself,
with myself again.
Yeah.
You know, kind of refilled the vessel again. Met great people, ate nice food, lived really small, and took on a whole minimalist attitude towards living. To this day, I don't like owning stuff.
Me neither.
I like having as little. I've got a philosophy that I've stuck to, is I never buy anything over here that I can't afford to walk away from.
Right.
You know, there's not one thing in my little apartment next door to yours that I can't walk away from tomorrow.
That's what I think.
And that is a very liberating feeling.
It is. Because I had a hard time, I don't know about you, but I had a hard time getting rid of stuff I paid a lot of money for. I gave things away to charity, whatever, that I couldn't sell. And you look at all this pile of stuff, I spent a lot of money on that, and I can't use any of it. I don't want it. I got to get rid of it. It's just stuff.
It's just stuff.
And then you got the house to keep your stuff in. You're paying for the house. And
yeah.
So when you came over here, or went to Thailand, how did you manage the things you had? You just put it in storage, or what did you do with your stuff?
Well, like I said,
your mail and things like that. How'd you handle all that?
that was of no consequence. Everything, like I said, it got washed away. So the only mail I got was a collection notice. You know what I mean? You owe for this or you owe for that. And so the credit got tanked, and that's a hit to the ego because you're
for an F&I guy that knows about these things.
Yeah. Like I've always had this 760, 800 credit score. I'm the guy that could walk in and write a check for anything and blah, blah, blah. And that gives you all this false sense of ego, which is totally meaningless. And so I really didn't have anything to lose. When I did reacquire some stuff, like you, I just gave it away or sold a few things, but I just didn't care. I came over here with a suitcase and a backpack, and I figured I'll just figure it out when I get here. And what I needed was a change because, you know, as you get older, your options narrow. It's almost like a funnel. You know?
Like a funnel.
At a funnel, it's very wide when you're 25 years old, but then you get to 35 and 45 and 55 and 65. And I'm not talking about relationships. I'm talking about income opportunities, jobs, health, everything. It just gets narrower and narrower and narrower.
Right.
And the only time to do things for yourself is now. Now is the time to be selfish, is my creed. You know, that's where I come from. I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to take care of me. And by taking care of me, it turns out that I've been able to actually take care of a lot of other people, which I think you've noticed. You know, things that I've done in the community and May and I have done in the community. And that just came kind of like...
You can never help anybody in America because it just costs too much. But here, you can do so much with a couple $100. You can change somebody's life for $100 here. Yeah,
I think the gist of what I want to get across is that you can't help anybody else until you're well enough to help them.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to be right. And so I feel that the last 4 years, call it, that I've been here, I got right. And well within the first 2-3 years.
If you look at yourself like at your darkest days back in America, where you were mentally and everything, and where you are today sitting here, it must be like
light years.
Light years away.
Light years.
And you probably,
light years.
I guess, spending time though in Thailand at least gave you a little glimpse of what the possibilities were. Like for me, I had no idea. I came here blind.
Yeah, I can dig it. You're right, I did. And like I said, 2005 was the catalyst. 2009 to 2010 was the reinforcement. And really just the culture, the sense of community, the sense of togetherness, the smiles. You know, in America, if I was to walk, forget a young girl, but if I was to walk by a 50, 60-year-old woman at Walmart and smile at her, she might tee off on me. I mean, I'm not saying she would, but there's, here, I can smile at a 20-year-old girl, not because I'm coming on to her, but just because I'm smiling. And she'll smile back. And there's no agenda, you know? And I found that to be in Thailand. I found that in Indonesia. I didn't find it in Vietnam. They're a little more sullen over there. But I'm talking about men and women and kids. Everybody just sort of smiles more. And to me, it's that's been one of the bummers about the pandemic, has been the mask. Is that I'm like, what are we missing here? I don't see anybody smiling. I don't see their expression anymore. And to me, that's just such an unconscious, positive reinforcement for me.
I notice when I'm on a motorbike in traffic, I used to smile at people, like give them language that you go ahead of me, you turn right and I'll wait here or whatever. And now the mask is up there. It takes away the way you can communicate with people silently. All you got left is your eyes, and if you got sunglasses on, they don't know what your intentions are.
That's correct. And there's so much that you can tell from a person just by the expression on their face. And so, but that's, that was one of the things. In fact, Thailand's known as the land of smiles. And everybody is just gracious and happy and polite. And in America, it seemed like everybody's ready for a fist fight, just, one road rage.
Yeah, you don't see that here.
Never.
Never. I mean,
never.
People cut you off and you don't honk your horn at people.
Never.
Usually the only time someone honks their horn is to let you know that they're about to overtake you, that they're there.
Yeah, I'm here, buddy.
Yeah, that's
it. I'm just letting you know I'm on your right. I'm in your blind side.
Yeah, a little toot here, I'm here.
Never, ever. I seen one foreigner go through road rage where he was screaming at everybody, and that was an embarrassment. But no, it's just over here, there's just a total different vibe. It allows you to be yourself, as long as you treat people with dignity and respect, and
that's the key.
With
keep a low profile.
Keep a low profile. Don't get in their business.
Don't be flashy,
they won't get in theirs, and just be kind to one another.
It's like safety. Like my mother and my brother live in Louisville, Kentucky, and I had a home there for many years. And I watched the news on NBC and stuff on YouTube, and there's like a murder like every single day, and a rape and a this and a that, and all this violence. And there was the Black Lives Matter marches going on where they were breaking into Kroger's and burning buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
And we don't see anything like that here. I mean, you've been here for over 3 years. Have you ever felt threatened?
Never.
I've never felt threatened. I've never felt unsafe. But when I count my money, everything's cash here, so you walk around with a lot of cash on you. So they give me my change. I like to keep things in order, the thousands at the bottom, whatever. And so I take my money out, I'm sorting it out, getting it ordered. I'm not looking over my shoulder, somebody's going to grab my money. I don't even think about it.
Well, it's not a good idea, because you can be in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong guy looking over your shoulder. And desperate times, desperate people will do desperate things in desperate times. But I guess the point I was going to make is what I'm so impressed with over here is I do interviews with a lot of young people, and so does May.
Right.
And these are women that are maybe single moms or whatnot that are in their early 20s, mid 20s, 30s, whatever. But they're all respectful.
Right.
They're not. They're family orientated. I've never seen one teenager walking around with the baggy pants. When I encounter young people here, some of them are a little frisky just because they're teenagers,
They're driving fast, whatever.
Yeah, they give you a little jazz now and then, but it's all in kind of good nature. Where I'm afraid of teenagers back in America. If I see a pack of 5 or 6 teenagers coming at me,
a pack of wolves
with the low riding pants and the swagger going on, I get a little nervous.
Something else.
I've never felt scared.
No, me neither. Something else. Have you noticed that they respect senior citizens? Like,
absolutely.
You go to Jollibee and the security guard, oh sir, come over and get in this special line here. You don't have to wait. And they give you discounts at McDonald's and stuff, and they kind of respect older people. Which is nice.
Yeah. Well, you don't get old by being a fool.
No.
And they realize that. And so they revere older people because of the wisdom that they can impart upon them. It's something that they aspire to. They have enough smarts inside to know that they too shall one day be our age, should they be fortunate enough to make it this far. And again, it just goes down to their soul of they relate to their grandparents when they see me. And if I'm struggling with a bag or whatever, they'll come over and open the door and help me. Where in America, they just might take the bags away from you.
So if you inherited $1 million tomorrow, how would your life change? Would you go back to America? Would you stay here? What would you do?
If I inherited $1 million, I think I would just sock it away someplace boring that got a guaranteed return on it. And
but you wouldn't change. You wouldn't leave the Philippines?
No. The only thing that would change if that were to happen, or if I just decided that I was going to blow through $1 million, the only thing I think I would ever treat myself to is to fly private. Just because it's not that I hate airlines, I hate airports.
No, me too.
So if I could treat myself to something, it would be to skirt around all that crap, you know,
Charter plane.
6 hours and going through the lines and everything, and just get on a plane or go first class or something, just to make, because that to me is just a hassle. Would I buy a big house? Would I buy a big car? Would I get a boat? No.
No, me neither.
No. I would have much more satisfaction with that type of money, of just having it there as a safety net, and then leaving it to May.
Because he'll travel a little bit and stuff. And
oh, sure. Open myself up to where her and I, my girlfriend, baby May, where we could do a little more traveling. But we wouldn't go, unless we were on a long trip, we wouldn't go anything special. You know, we wouldn't necessarily stay in a 5-star hotel. It would be an adequate place, but we don't need the best of the best. Whenever I go to, one thing that May's kind of brought me around to is how wasteful it is to go and spend $80 on a meal, because it's just a meal, and it's just going to be food on your stomach. When for half that or a third of that or whatever, what matters is the conversation that you have.
Yeah.
And I've had the best conversations in the Philippines sitting on a rock with dirt and a half-warm red horse, chatting with Filipinas or Filipinos, and they're telling me their life story, and they come from a family of 10, and the father left them, but they've managed to survive, and I am just enthralled by that, you know, and I'm just amazed at how far they've gone on so little, and how spoiled we are.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And
how happy they are.
Yeah, and how happy they are.
And optimistic. They're very optimistic.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Always willing to look at the brighter side of things. Where I, at least, I'll speak for myself, was just going negative. I was saying, you know what, I'm just going to do the same thing. If I stayed in America, I probably would have stayed at the same job. I would have just kept working. I would have gone and sat in the same couch. I would have watched the same TV. And then some years would go by, and then I'd be dead. And that would be that. I didn't come over here to meet women. That wasn't my thing.
Yeah, me neither.
That was like after my experience with women, I'd had enough.
Yeah.
And so all I wanted to do was come over here and, like I said, refill the vessel, you know, take care of me, be selfish, take a nap when I want to, go where I want to, get some new experiences, see some new sights, meet some new people. If I didn't like it, I could leave. I had that option. But I ended up liking it. And then a few years into it, I met May, and I do have a relationship.
Not only that, but you know, you've got a lot of friends.
Tons of friends.
I mean, did you have a lot of friends back in America?
I had a ton of acquaintances, but they were primarily workmates.
Yeah.
And they were, you know, now I'm the divorced guy with the kids and the drama, and these guys would go home to their wives and normal kids, I guess. And so, no. Did we get together? No. Did we hang out? No. One or two guys I go out and play golf with or something like that, but no.
But you got like real friends here, lots of them.
I have real friends here, yeah. I have guys here that, you know, guys like you, and other guys that I've met that 3 o'clock in the morning, I can give them a call and say I'm in the hospital.
Yeah.
You know, and I need 50,000 pesos because I ain't got it in my pocket. And they'd come down to the hospital with 50,000 pesos and pay it, and knowing I'd give it back to them. But I don't think I'd have anybody like that in the States.
Yeah, having friends does a lot for your, you know, your well-being, I think. It really makes you feel, you know, more secure and just happier, you know.
Well, having genuine friends.
And genuine friends,
and,
that are fun to talk to, interesting.
They're just interesting. Yeah. There's guys that I meet over here that after 5 minutes, I don't like them.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, I'll sit and we'll chat, and I just make a mental note that this is not my kind of guy.
Right.
And that's okay. And I'm probably not his kind of guy either. And then there's people that I meet that I find to be just super exceptional. Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm fascinated. And I never say a word. I just listen to them talk. And guess what? Most of them are a lot older than me.
Yeah.
They got great stories.
Yeah, some good stories here.
Great attitudes.
Yeah.
They've got very little agenda. They've been there. They've done that, and they have not only do they have great stories, but they have great morals to the stories when they tell you about it. So I feel very blessed, by the interaction that I have with a lot of the guys over here.
Well, it just proves that, for those people out there watching that are in the same situation that you were 5 years ago, that, don't give up. There is, sometimes you have to make a huge change. I mean, you have to change everything, hit the reset button in your whole life. And sometimes you don't know how it's going to turn out. But I mean, look, how bad can it be if you just stay where you are?
Yeah.
You got to try.
Yeah, if it's change or be changed.
Yeah, little changes sometimes aren't enough.
Well, no, it's sometimes I think it's healthy to get a jolt to the system.
Yeah.
I really don't think there's anything more significant than travel, and I think that getting out of your comfort zone, and I don't mean going from Las Vegas to Arizona.
No.
I don't mean to go look at the Grand Canyon. I don't find that to be a change.
Yeah.
That's a trip. But get on a plane and go someplace. Like when I went to Thailand, it would never have occurred to me to go to Thailand if Gary hadn't invited me. I didn't even know anything about Thailand, and much less go halfway around the world. Would never occur to me. But I went, and it was like, wow, I went on the other side of the world. I just flew 6,000 miles. That's amazing. I still reveal that.
That was like a major turning point in your life.
Huge. And so it's caused me to want to go other places. So like I've been to Vietnam, I've checked that out. I went to Indonesia and checked that out. And I look forward to going to other countries. Yeah.
Me too. Well, Paul, thanks a lot for sharing your story. I learned so much about you, knowing you for a year and a half and all these things I didn't know, and really appreciate it. And I think for you, things are just going to keep getting better and better.
Yeah. And for those that are watching, Mark's got a great channel here. Every man has a story. And so I encourage you to like, share, and subscribe to his video channel.
And with Paul's channel, which is?
Paul in the Philippines, Old Dog New Tricks.
I'll be putting a link to that in the description here as well. You can check it out. Really just click on it. Go to Paul's channel. He's got a lot more content than I have on my channel because he's been here for so long. So there's all these funny things and interesting things and informational things. And you kind of get sucked into the rabbit hole when you get in Paul's channel. You start watching one video, next thing you know, 5 hours have gone by. A lot of people tell me that. So thanks again, Paul. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you later. Bye.
All right, man.